Okay, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah, all praises to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah, double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone. Salutations to you brothers pushing the word in sincerity and truth, that's watching, that's praying, the hopeful elect, the saints. Yeah, all praises to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah once again. Alright, today, just bringing out a little information based off of this article that you see on the screen right here. The article is from SputnikNews.com titled Middle East Leaders Give Up on Obama, Turn to Putin, U.S. Diplomat. Now, I haven't really read this article, but the title sparked me to think about the prophecy in Ezekiel, the 38th chapter. And I'm going to get into the precept in Ezekiel, the 8th chapter. I'm just going to read a few parts of this article, through the spirit. It says, Russia has demonstrated to the Middle East leaders that it is a country willing to act, which had completely changed the region's perception of the U.S., according to former top Obama White House aide on Middle East issues, Dennis Ross. So you have a former White House aide that's coming out and saying that what Russia did by taking the lead in helping Syria fight against ISIS, which ISIS we know that's is created by the United States military. The CIA had a hand in creating ISIS to overthrow Assad. Russia has stepped in and basically propped up the Assad regime, which threw a wrench in the project for a new American century plan, because part of that plan was to take out Syria, Lebanon, Iran. It has delayed that project or that agenda, so to speak. Let's see what else we can find. It says America may seem strong regarding its military capability in the region, but for some reason, local leaders are becoming frequent visitors in Moscow, not Washington, D.C. Ross wrote in a piece for Politico. The diplomat noted that the Arabs, as well as Israelis, gave up on Obama because of his indecisiveness. I'm going to read down, and I'm going to put the article up in post-production, but for time's sake, I'm just going to read through parts of this article and just tie it in with that scripture in Ezekiel. It says, meanwhile, Middle East countries, including U.S. allies, favor Moscow's policy, the diplomat emphasized. The Russian military intervention turned the tide in Syria and, contrary to Obama's view, has put the Russians in a stronger position without imposing any meaningful cost on them, he wrote. Yeah, because when the Russians went over there and put their military over there in Syria, they didn't take real heavy casualties. Meanwhile, over here in America, Obama and the citizens are war weary. They've been in a war, tied down in Afghanistan and Iraq for years, and they spent countless dollars, and U.S. soldiers come back dead. So Barack Obama's not in the position to flex and spend more money on military situations over there in the Middle East. But we're going to go to this scripture over here in Ezekiel 38. Started Ezekiel 38:1. It says, and the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against it. And say, Thus saith the Lord power, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth in all thy army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya, with them, all of them with shields and helmets. Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togarmah of the north quarters, and all his bands, and many people with thee. Be thou prepared, and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. Key point is be thou a guard unto them. And that's why That's why I said, like it says in this article, a lot of those Arab leaders are starting to turn to Moscow. Which is Russia. Now, Russia in this scripture is referred to as Gog and Magog, because over there in that land used to be inhabited by the tribe of the sons of Japhet, but now it's occupied by Edomites today that call themselves Russians. And in the scripture, in verse 5, it says, Persia, Ethiopia, Libya, with them all, them with shields and helmets, because they're going to bring their armies up under the order of Russia. That's why it says, be thou a guard unto them, because the Russians are going to back these different nations. All of these different Arab nations over there in the Arab world, the majority of them that have that are not stable, countries like Yemen, countries like Somalia, Ethiopia, because over there in Ethiopia and Somalia, over there, Kenya, they're having issues with El Shabaab, and they're gonna start looking towards Russia for guidance and for guidance, and that's all according to what this former I believe he's a press secretary, I'm not sure, former guy that was in the White House administration. He was in the Obama administration. He says, because perception matters more than mere power, the Russians are seen as willing to use power to affect the balance of power in the region, and we are not, he explained. Yeah, and that's why with these nations like Persia, which the modern day Persians today are the Iranians, right? They look up to the Russians. They're getting missiles from Russia, the S-300 missile. All right, so let's get into this word hegemony, because the influence of America over there in the Middle East is diminishing. The word hegemony, let's see, hegemony, the word hegemony, which I just messed up, but that word means, oh man, computer's slow, man, but that word means leadership or predominant influence exercised by one nation over others, as in a confederation. Leadership, predominance. So America over there in the Middle East, their foreign policy, these countries over there in the Middle East are not taking America serious. And Trump, him being put in the White House, and Hillary being put in the White House is not going to bring more American influence, but the influence is going to diminish, because this is according to prophecy. Their influence is diminishing because of all the wickedness they have done. Now, I had this article right here. It's called American Hegemony is Here to Stay, which we know that's bullshit. But I just want to bring out a few points that I read in here. Now it says, this is by Salvador Bonus. It was written June 11th, 2015. It says, is retreat from global hegemony in America national interest? No idea has percolated more widely over the past decade, and none is more bogus. The United States is not headed for the skids, and there is no reason it should be. The truth is that America can and should seek to remain the world's top dog, which is bullshit. Because pursuant to this scripture right here in Obadiah, I'm going to get Obadiah, I'm going to start at verse 6. It says, how are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. Yeah, and that's why Americans' hegemony is done. It's in the trash, man. America's basically circling the drain. America's out. America is on its way out as a world player on the planet Earth, man. Ultimately, the missiles is going to finish this place off, but the influence of America is being diminished. It says the idea of American hegemony is as old as Benjamin Franklin, but has its practical roots in World War II. The United States emerged from that war as the dominant economic, political, and technological power, the only major combatant to avoid serious damage to its infrastructure. Yeah, because all of these wars took place over there overseas, man. And that's why the scriptures mention that this is the virgin daughter of Babylon. Because out of all the world wars, America has never faced any serious damage to its infrastructure. What, Pearl Harbor? A few balloons that came over here and killed some people from Japan. But other than that, there was no major damage, no serious damage to its infrastructure after all of these wars. But its infrastructure is going to be completely destroyed once these missiles come from Russia. Its housing stock or its demographic profile, the United States ended the war with the greatest naval order of battle ever seen in the history of the world. It became the post-war home of the United Nations, the International Monetary Fund, and the World Bank. And this is what propped up America. America's infrastructure, America's Federal Reserve note. That's why America has been able to have the petrodollar or have the Federal Reserve as the world reserve status. But that status as the world reserve currency, being the Federal Reserve note, is about to come to an end. It's getting ready to come to an end. And of course, the United States had the bomb, which was the atomic bomb, and then they got the nuclear bomb. America was, in every sense of the word, a hegemon. Hegemony is a word used by social scientists to describe leadership within a system of competing states. And that's why America entered into that second World War. And they didn't enter into it in the beginning. They entered into it. That's why it's been reports that Roosevelt knew that Pearl Harbor was going to attack. Knew that Japan was going to attack Pearl Harbor. But this was all according to the elites' plans to prop up the dollar, and not to mention, or the Federal Reserve note, not to mention, spread United States hegemony throughout the four corners of the earth, thus being called Babylon the Great, that great city, fulfilling prophecy. World War II helped Babylon the Great fulfill prophecy. So going back into the book of Obadiah, it says, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee, these other nations that were at peace with thee, and prevailed, have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat their bread have laid the wound under thee. Yeah, these other countries that have taken on your Federal Reserve System, your debt, they have laid the wound under thee. They get ready to dump that dollar. So I just was bringing this scripture out to show you how in Ezekiel 38 this prophecy is being fulfilled by these different countries over there in the Middle East, these different Middle East leaders and these different leaders around the world, because it's another example of Barack Obama telling the Prime Minister of Japan, Abe, his name is Abe, to not, to kind of hold off on your meeting with President Putin, or to try to delay your meeting. But he didn't take the advice of President Obama, and he did what he wanted to do. See, these nations, they don't take Obama serious, man. Obama's not taken serious on the world stage, because they know that he's set up to push the New World Order agenda, or push the agenda of the elite. He's Bush on steroids in a dark man's body, man, so to speak. But with that, I'm gonna give all praises to Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. Double honors to the elders of Great Millstone, the apostles. Salutations to you brothers that's watching and listening. And until the next video, Shalom.